So we are discussing about the launch vehicles. So we completed SLV, ESLV, PSLV, next GSLV. So next GSLV. GSLV means geostationary satellite launch vehicle. Geostationary satellite launch vehicle. So it is to launch communication satellites. To launch communication satellites. Communication satellites to GSO. That means geostationary orbit, or you can say GTO, geostationary transfer orbit. So GSLV means geostationary satellite launch vehicle. It is to launch heavier satellites like communication satellites to geostationary orbit or geostationary transfer orbit. Its payload capacity is It can launch 5000 kgs of payload to LEO, low Earth orbit, and 2500 kgs of payload to GTO, geostationary transfer orbit. And it is a three-stage rocket. Three-stage rocket. In the first stage, it carries solid propellant called HTPB, that is hydroxy terminated polybutadiene. The second stage carries the liquid propellant. That is UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, whereas the third stage carries cryogenic propellant. So this cryogenic propellant contains liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. So this liquid hydrogen acts as a fuel and liquid oxygen acts as a oxidizer. Liquid hydrogen. So this liquid hydrogen is kept at minus 253 degrees centigrade, and the liquid oxygen is kept at minus 186 degrees centigrade temperature. Sorry, minus 183 degrees centigrade. So GSLV, geostationary satellite launch vehicle. It is to launch communication satellites, that is heavier satellites of up to 5000 kg payload. So this is payload capacity. How do you remember this one? It is a three-stage rocket which solid, liquid and cryogenic propellants are used. Solid propellant, same HTPB, hydroxy terminated polybutadiene. Liquid propellant, UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine. And third stage contains cryogenic propellant. So cryogenic propellant, this is important, you have to remember that one. Here the cryogenic fuel is liquid hydrogen as fuel and liquid oxygen as a oxidizer. So you have to remember the temperatures also, minus 253 degrees centigrade, and then liquid oxygen at a minus 183 degrees centigrade temperature. Right? Then ISRO has developed 3 versions of GSLV. ISRO has developed 3 versions of GSLV. These are GSLV MK1, GSLV MK2 Mark II, and GSLV MK3. GSLV MK1, MK2 and GSLV MK3. GSLV Mk3. Right. And GSLV Mk3. Let us see GSLV Mk3. It is an advanced version. Its payload capacity. Its payload capacity is 8,000 kgs of payload to LEO, low Earth orbit, and 4,000 kgs of payload to GTO. Its lift-off weight is nearly 630 tons. Lift-off weight is 630 tons. And its height is 42.4 meters. Height 42.4 meters. These are specifications of GSLV Mk3. Then achievements of this GSLV Mk3. Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan 2 and 3 was launched with the help of GSLV Mk3. Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3 was launched using GSLV Mk3. And also the future mission like Gaganyaan. So this is a first human space flight onto the moon. That is Gaganyaan to be launched with the help of GSLV Mk3. Just you remember? Which one? Only for? Means? Human space flight mission to the space. Human space flight mission. The first IHSP, Indian Human Space Flight Program, Gaganyaan. So this Gaganyaan to be launched with the help of GSLV Mk3. GSLV Mk3. Okay. Over. Right. Next, SSLV. SSLV. SSLV means small satellite launch vehicle. Small satellite launch vehicle. So ISRO has developed this SSLV to launch the small satellites. Of weight nearly 500 to 700 kgs. 500 to 700 kgs. Small satellites like nanosats and CubeSats. Nanosats and CubeSats. So the satellites with a weight of nearly 500 to 700 kgs can be launched with the help of this SSLV. It is a 3-stage solid propellant rocket. Solid propellant. It is a 3-stage rocket which carries solid propulsion system. Briefly, you remember here. So based on the weight, the satellites have been classified into mini satellites, micro satellites, nano satellites, and pico satellites. So these mini satellites have weight up to 100 to 500 kgs. So micro satellites have weight up to 25 to 100 kgs. Nano satellites 1 to 25 kgs. And then pico satellite less than 1 kg. So this is the types of satellites based on its weight. So mini satellites 100 to 500 kgs, micro satellites 25 to 100 kgs, nano satellites 1 to 25 kgs, and pico satellites less than 1 kg. Right? These are small satellites. Just to remember, small satellites. ISRO has developed the small satellites to launch the small satellites of weight 500 to 700 kgs like nanosats and CubeSats. So you remember this one. This is a 3-stage solid propulsion system. It carries 3-stage solid propulsion system. And next one is LOX methane. LOX methane. So LOX methane means liquid oxygen methane engine. Liquid oxygen methane. This is LOX methane. Liquid oxygen methane. Here the methane acts as a fuel and liquid oxygen as a oxidizer. So this methane, the methane can be considered as future fuel of space. Future fuel of space. It is considered as future fuel of space. Methane acts as fuel and liquid oxygen as a oxidizer. Here the LPSC means liquid propulsion system center. Liquid propulsion system center. Liquid propulsion system center. Thiruvananthapuram. LPSC is one of the laboratory of ISRO. That is LPSC, Liquid Propulsion System Center, Thiruvananthapuram, is developing 2 LOX methane engines. Okay. And what are the advantages of this LOX methane? The advantages of this LOX methane. Here, the methane can be synthesized in the space. The methane can be synthesized in the space. Easy to store. It is easy to store and it is non-toxic in nature. Non-toxic. It is non-toxic. So whereas the UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine and hydrogen tetroxide, they are toxic in nature. Okay. So these are the advantages of LOX methane. You remember this one. Liquid oxygen methane. Here methane is acting as a fuel and liquid oxygen as a oxidizer. And LPSC, which is located in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. So it is producing 2 LOX methane engines. Or advantages. Methane can be synthesized in the space itself. Okay, from carbon dioxide and water. And then it is easy to store and it is non-toxic. Whereas UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxides, they are toxic in nature. Next. Write on land space. Land space. A China based private space technology firm. China based private space technology firm launched methane powered, launched methane powered Juke 2 rocket, launched methane powered Juke 2 rocket in 2023. Juke 2 rocket in 2023. This Juke 2 carried 3 satellites. Juke 2 carried 3 satellites. So liquid oxygen methane. So there is a private space-based company in China called Land Space. This Land Space company launched this Juke 2 rocket, which is powered with a LOX methane, that is liquid oxygen methane engine. So this rocket carried 3 satellites. Okay, right. So this is LOX methane. Just to remember that one. And next. Satellite systems of India. Next, satellite systems of India. So actually, the ISRO has developed various types of satellite systems. So these includes INSAT system, IRS system, navigation, satellite system, navigation satellites, and also ISRO launched various space missions. So INSAT system. What is INSAT system? So it is Indian National Satellite System. Indian National Satellite System. INSAT system. And IRS. Indian Remote Sensing Satellite System. Indian Remote Sensing Satellite System. So if you observe the INSAT system, it is mainly meant for communication purpose. INSAT system, it is mainly meant for communication purpose. Various types of communication satellites called INSAT satellites have been launched from this INSAT system. So it was commissioned in 1983. So this INSAT system, it was commissioned in 1983. It is a joint venture of 5 departments. INSAT system is a joint venture of 5 departments, like DOT means Department of Telecommunications. DOT, Department of Telecommunications. Then DOS, Department of Space. IMD, that is Indian Meteorological Department. Indian Meteorological Department. Then AIR, All India Radio, and DD means Doordarshan. So INSAT system, it is mainly meant for communication purpose. To strengthen the communication system, it was commissioned in the year 1983. It is a joint venture of 5 departments. So Department of Telecommunications, Department of Space, IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, AIR, All India Radio, and DD means Doordarshan. So actually, in this INSAT system, we have launched various types of satellites. in different generations, like first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. Inside 1 series, 2 series, 3 series, and in 4 series. In the fourth series, inside 4 series. So in this inside 4 series, the advanced GSATs have been included. Advanced GSATs have been included. GSATs means geostationary satellites. In the fourth series, in the fourth generation, the advanced GSATs have been included. Okay, GSATs have been included. And here, to launch these GSATs or INSATs, GSLV rocket are using. So GSLV rocket is used to launch these communication satellites. Next, you remember the recent one, that is GSAT 7B. GSAT 7B. You remember this one? GSAT 7B. Not yet launched. GSAT 7B. Recently, the Ministry of Defense has given acceptance of this GSAT 7B. Recently, the Ministry of Defense has given acceptance for acquiring, for having this GSAT 7B. It is dedicated satellite for Indian Army. It is dedicated satellites for Indian Army. So that means it is a military satellite. Indian Army. That is, it is a military satellite. Okay. So GSAT 7B, it is dedicated for Indian Army. So this GSAT satellite helps Indian Army to enhance its surveillance in the border areas. Okay. To enhance surveillance. To enhance surveillance in border areas. So GSAT 7B, you remember this one? It is dedicated satellites for Indian Army. It is a military satellite. It is a third military satellite. It is to enhance surveillance in border areas. Before that, we have 2 other military satellites. India has 2 other military satellites. India has 2 other military satellites like GSAT 7 and GSAT 7A. GSAT 7. It is called Rukmini. Whereas GSAT 7A, it is called Angry Bird. These 2 are military satellites. GSAT 7, it is called Rukmini. It was the first military satellites for Indian Navy. GSAT 7. First military satellite. It was the first military satellite for Indian Navy. Indian Navy. Remember this one. GSAT 7, commonly known as Rukmini. It was the first military satellite for Indian Navy. Whereas GSAT 7A, it is called Angry Bird. It is the second military satellite. It was the second military satellite for Indian Air Force. For Indian Air Force. For IAF. See, it was launched in the year 2018. Whereas Rukmini was launched in the year 2013. You remember these 3. So these 3 have to remember. So actually the GSAT 7, GSAT 7A and GSAT 7B, these 3 are military satellites. Okay, military satellites. So actually GSAT 7, it was first launched in the 2013. It was the first military satellite named as Rukmini. So it is dedicated for Indian Navy. These points you have to remember. GSAT 7, Rukmini, Indian Navy. So launched in 2013. GSAT 7A launched in the year 2018. So it is the second military satellite for Indian Air Force. And then GSAT-7B not yet launched, so it is dedicated for Indian Army to enhance the surveillance operations in border areas. So these are the three military satellites. So the other military satellites also includes EMISAT and RISAT-2BR. EMISAT and RISAT-2BR1. EMISAT and RISAT-2BR1. EMISAT, you write down abbreviation in bracket, electromagnetic intelligence gathering satellite. EMISAT, electromagnetic intelligence gathering satellite. Right? So GSAT-7B, it is for Indian Army. You remember GSAT-7, Indian Navy. GSAT-7A, Indian Air Force. GSAT-7B, Indian Army. Okay? Just you remember these three. And next one is INSAT 3DS or GSLV F14. INSAT 3DS or GSLV F14. INSAT 3DS GSLV F14. So it was launched on 17th February 2024. 17th February 2024. So it is designed to enhance meteorological observations. So designed to enhance meteorological observations, weather forecasting, and also improve disaster warning capabilities. Improve disaster warning capabilities. So just remember INSAT 3DS or GSLV F14. So it was launched on 17th February 2024. It is mainly dedicated for meteorological observations, weather forecasting, and also improve disaster warnings. Okay. So basically, this is a weather satellite. This satellite was completely funded by the Ministry of Environment Forest. It was completely funded by Ministry of Environmental Science. So the existing weather satellites includes INSAT 3D and INSAT 3DR. The existing weather satellites includes INSAT 3D. It was launched in the year 2013, and INSAT 3DR launched in 2016. Just to remember, recently launched weather satellite was INSAT 3DS, or it is also called GSLV F14. So it was launched with the help of rocket called GSLV F14. So it was launched in the year 2024. It is a meteorological satellite or weather observation satellites. Meteorological observation, weather forecasting, improving disaster warning capabilities. And this satellite was completely funded by Ministry of Environmental Science or Ministry of Environment and Forest. The other existing meteorological satellites are INSAT 3D and INSAT 3DR. INSAT 3D was launched in the year 2013 and 3DR was in 2016. So simply you remember the weather satellites or meteorological satellites includes INSAT 3D, INSAT 3DR and INSAT 3DS. Okay, just you remember this one. And next one is IRS satellites. IRS satellites. So simply remember, IRS means Indian remote sensing satellites. Indian remote sensing satellites. Indian remote sensing satellites. What is remote sensing? Remote sensing means acquisition of information of an object without making any physical contact with the object. So here remote sensing means acquisition of information of an object without making any physical contact with the object. Acquisition of information of an object without making any physical contact with the object. This is called remote sensing. Here, the information can be captured in the form of images, in the form of X-rays, or in the form of IR rays. So this information can be carried, or this information can be gathered in the form of images, X-rays, or infrared radiations. Okay. So that means suppose, so when the ray is incident on an object, that will be reflected back. The difference between the wavelength of this incident ray and a reflected ray will be calculated to assess the presence of the object. Okay. So that is called as remote sensing phenomena. So this remote sensing may be of two types. Active remote sensing, other one is passive remote sensing. Active remote sensing, that means here we'll use some sensors. These sensors will emit the radiations. For example, radar and lidar. Radar means radio detection and range. Radar and lidar, light detection and range, lidar. These are the examples of active remote sensing. Whereas the passive remote sensing means here we are not using any sensor. That means suppose say this is an object. Okay, the light surrounding the object will be reflected back. The natural light will be reflected. So that is called as passive remote sensing. Say for example, film photography. That means capturing of an image by using a camera. It is an example of a passive remote sensing. And IR radiations, IR, that means metal detectors are there, metal detectors. So in these metal detectors, we'll use IR radiation, infrared radiations. These are the examples of passive remote sensing. Okay. And these remote sensing satellites, called as IRS satellites. These IRS satellites can be launched into sun synchronous orbit by PSLV rocket. IRS rocket. Indian remote sensing satellites can be launched with the help of PSLV rocket, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, into SSO, sun synchronous orbit. It is for resource monitoring. It is for resource monitoring. So mineralogy, and this can also be used for crop estimation, urban and rural development. Okay, rural planning you can say. urban planning, rural development. For all these purpose, we'll use IRS satellites, that is Indian remote sensing satellites. Right. Next, navigation satellites. Next, navigation satellites or navigation system. Navigation system. Navigation satellites. So some satellites have been launched in the space, which are constellated together. They provide the navigation signals for accurate movement and accurate location. So that means navigation system is a satellite based system which aids in navigation. Which aids in navigation means it provides accurate direction. It provides accurate location of an object. That is called as a navigation system. Here, some satellites are constellated together. Constellated means these satellites work together in an harmony, and they calculate the time and distance between the two objects. Okay, so that is called as navigation system. So actually, ISRO also has developed an indigenous navigation satellite system that is called as IRNSS. IRNSS means Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, IRNSS. So this is also called as the NAVIC. NAVIC means Navigation with Indian Constellation. Navigation with Indian Constellation. NAVIC means Navigation with Indian Constellation. So, ISRO has developed its own navigation system that was named as IRNSS, or you can say NAVIC. IRNSS means Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or it is also called as NAVIC. Here, PSLV C-39 rocket were used to launch the satellites in this NAVIC system. So here, totally 7 satellites have been launched. Till now, 7 satellites have been launched. In that, 3 satellites are in geostationary orbit, whereas 4 satellites are in geosynchronous orbit. 4 satellites are in geosynchronous orbit. Suppose say this is a globe. Here 3 satellites are in geostationary orbit, and then the 4 satellites like this. The 4 satellites are in geosynchronous orbit. So this is a geostationary. Suppose if the object is located here, all the 4 satellites will cover this object. So here navigation system, ISRO has developed its indigenous regional navigation satellite system that was named as IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or it is also called as NAVIC. NAVIC means Navigation with Indian Constellation. Navigation with Indian Constellation. In this, 7 satellites are launched. 3 satellites in geostationary orbit, whereas 4 satellites in the geosynchronous orbit. PSLV C-39 rocket were used to launch these satellites. And then, what is the range of this IRNSS. That means 1500 kilometers from Indian territory. So it has a range of nearly 1500 kilometers. That means, suppose say so, that means it covers the Indian region. It covers the Indian region. So from here, it can cover up to a range of 1500 kilometers. So this was given in a previous exam. Which of the following statement is correct about IRNSS? It has given in IRNSS system 7 satellites have been launched. In that 3 satellites are in geostationary, 4 satellites are in geosynchronous orbit. That's the option was correct. And the second option you have given, the range of this IRNSS is 5,500 kilometers. That was the wrong option. So it has a range of 1500 kilometers from Indian territory or Indian boundaries. So that is called as the navigation system. Okay. And here, now this navigation system have been integrated in various smartphones like Apple iPhone Pro and Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. So that means the Navic have been integrated in Apple iPhone 15 Pro and Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. Navic integration in smartphones, Apple iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro iMax. 15 Pro iMax. But the present smartphones works on GPS system. GPS system is global positioning system, which is the navigation system of US. Okay, you remember this one. So here mainly you have to remember IRNSS regional navigation system, 7 satellite, 3 in geostationary, 4 in geosynchronous orbit. Okay, PSLV C39 was used. So they are fully working here, 1A to 1G up to 1G. So range is 1500 kilometers from Indian borders or Indian territory. Okay, all right. So next another one is Gagan. Gagan. So what is Gagan? It is GPS aided geo augmented navigation system. GPS aided geo augmented navigation system. That is Gagan. Here ISRO and AAI. AAI means Airports Authority of India. Airports Authority of India. ISRO and AAI, Airports Authority of India, has developed a separate navigation system called as Gagan. GPS aided geo augmented navigation system. It is to provide enhanced navigation signals to the civil aviation sector. It is to provide enhanced navigation signals to civil aviation sector. Let us see other types of other navigation systems. GPS, that is global positioning system. It is the navigation system of US. Next, GLONASS. Global Navigational Satellite System. Global Navigation Satellite system, global navigation satellite system. It is a navigation system of Russia. Next, Galileo, navigation system of Europe. Next, BDO, navigation system of China. Then QZSS, quasi zenith satellite system. This is a navigation system of Japan. You remember? So these are the various navigation systems: IRNSS, GPS, Global Positioning System, US, GLONASS, Global Navigation Satellite System, Russia, Galileo is the navigation system of Europe, BDU is the navigation system of China, and QZSS, quasi zenith navigation satellite system. Okay. Next. The next one is Gemini device. So Gemini device, Gagan enabled Mariners instrument for Gagan enabled Mariners instrument for navigation and information. Gemini device. So it is a mobile application, you can say. Gemini device. It is a mobile application launched by Government of India. So that is Gagan enabled Mariners instrument for navigation and information. It is for dissemination of information on disaster warnings. Okay, it is an instrument or mobile application for dissemination of information on disaster warnings, potential fishing zones, and ocean states forecasts. To the fisherman. So actually, just you remember this one, Gemini device. What is Gemini device? It is Gagan enabled Mariners instrument for information, for navigation and information. Gagan enabled Mariners instrument for navigation information. So it is a mobile application which works based on Gagan system. Okay. It is for dissemination of information regarding disaster warnings, potential fishing zones, as well as ocean state forecast. There is a ocean weather conditions to the fishermen. Okay, right. This is a Gemini device. And the next one is right. Next, space exploration. Space exploration satellites, or simply they are called as the space missions. You can say space missions. Right, next. So the ISRO has launched various satellites to explore the space.
అందులోనే ఉంది, అది రావడం లేదు. ఏమో ప్రాబ్లం ఏదో ఉంది చూడు. పెట్టుకున్నా మానే ఉంది, రావడం లేదు సార్. ఓకే. సో ISRO has launched various satellites to explore the space, and these are called as space missions, you can say. So the various space missions includes, that is Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3, and planning Chandrayaan 4, then Mangalyaan. It is also called as Mars Orbiter Mission, Mangalyaan, Mars Orbiter Mission, then Astrosat, that is astronomical satellite, Aditya L1, Exposat, and also planning other missions like Shukrayaan 1, planning other missions like Shukrayaan 1, and also Gaganyaan. These are the various missions. So Chandrayaan 1, it was launched in the year 2008, and Chandrayaan 2 2019, Chandrayaan 3 2023, Mangalyaan 2013, Astrosat 2015, then Aditya L1 2023, Exposat 2024, and the Shukrayaan 1 and Gaganyaan. These are the planned missions. So if you observe the Chandrayaan 1, it is the first lunar mission onto moon. It is the first lunar mission, that is lunar mission onto moon. It was launched in the year 2008 by using PSLV C11 rocket. You remember this one, PSLV C11 rocket. So the main objective of this Chandrayaan 1 mission is to prepare a 3-dimensional atlas of moon, to explore moon, to prepare a 3-dimensional atlas of moon, mineralogy, morphology and mineralogy of moon, to explore morphology and mineralogy of moon, to explore morphology and mineralogy of moon. So in this Chandrayaan 1, it carried 11 payloads, 11 scientific instruments. Among these 11 payloads, 5 payloads were from India, that is TMC, terrain mapping camera, hyperspectral imager, high energy X-ray spectrometer, moon impact probe. So like that, 5 instruments were carried on this Chandrayaan 1. So it was successful mission. Okay, what are the major findings of this Chandrayaan 1 mission? Chandrayaan 1 confirmed that the moon is home to moon's poles, or home to water. That means in the polar region, so in the polar regions of moon, water is available. It is home to water. Existence of some elements like aluminum, magnesium, silicon were confirmed. Aluminum, magnesium and silicon. And also presence of hematite. Hematite means iron oxide, Fe2O3, at moon's poles. So findings of Chandrayaan 1. It is confirmed that the moon's polar regions are home to water. That means excess amount of water exists in the polar regions. Existence of aluminum, magnesium, silicon were confirmed, and also presence of hematite at moon's polar region. Hematite means it is iron oxide. That is, iron is present and it is oxidized. So rusted iron oxide. And recently NASA found the presence of excess amounts of metals like iron and titanium. Iron and titanium. NASA found, so recently NASA found that the presence of excess amounts of metals like iron and titanium on moon's surface. Greater quantities of iron and titanium are present on the moon's surface. Next, Chandrayaan 2. Next, Chandrayaan 2. It was launched in the year 2019 by using GSLV Mk3. The main objective is to explore the South Polar region. South Polar region of moon. To explore South Polar region on the moon. Actually, Chandrayaan 1 was only orbiter module. So this Chandrayaan 3, it is a orbiter module. It was orbiter, lander and a rover. Okay, so this lander was named as Vikram lander and the rover was named as Pragyan rover. But this orbiter module was successful. That means, what is orbiter module? What is orbital? What is lander, rover? So orbiter module means, suppose say this is moon's orbit. So this is a moon's orbit. This orbiter module is orbiting around the moon's orbit. Suppose say this is moon. This is a moon's orbit, and this orbiter is orbiting around the moon. It is observing the moon. Okay, and whereas the lander module will safely lands on the moon's surface. The lander module safely or softly lands on the surface of the moon, whereas the rover is a wheeled one, like this. The rover is a wheeled one, so it separates from the lander, it roars. That means it creeps on the surface of moon to some distance. There it observes the morphology of the moon. Okay, so atmospheric features of the moon. So this is called as a rover module. That means orbiter module is orbiting around the moons. Orbiter module is orbiting in the moon's orbit, whereas lander safely landing on the surface of the moon, whereas rover, it separates from the lander and creeps on the surface of the moon for a short distance, and it observes the moon's surface features. Okay, but unfortunately, due to some technical issues, the lander and rover modules were not successful. So lander and rover were not successful, lost contact with the Earth station and crash landed on the moon. So this is lander and rover. So only orbiter module was successful. Okay, just to remember that one. And next, Chandrayaan 3. Next one is Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan 3 It is a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 2. Chandrayaan 3, it is a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 3. It carries only lander and rover. Lander and rover. Because the orbiter module is orbiting in moon's orbit. So that's why it carried only lander and rover. And Chandrayaan 3 was launched on July 14, 2023. It was launched on July 14th, 2023 by using GSLV Mk3. GSLV Mk3. So the main objective of this Chandrayaan 3 is to demonstrate safe and soft landing on the moon. To demonstrate safe and soft landing. Soft landing on moon. So that is particularly onto South Polar region. South Polar region. Why we are landing on South Polar region? Why we are focusing on the South Polar region? Because at this South Polar region, many dark regions are existing. Okay, many dark regions are existing. So that means in this dark region, there are ice deposits. Okay, ice deposits are there. There is a lot of mineral deposits. Okay, it is a dark region. India wants to look the dark regions of the moon. That is South Polar region, dark moon, because it is having a dark region and ice deposits are more, and there are rich mineral deposits in this one. So ice deposits, and this region has rich mineral deposits. So thereby with this Chandrayaan 3 mission, India became the first to reach to South Pole of the moon, and became the fourth nation to reach on moon. Fourth nation to reach on moon after Russia, US and China. But India became the first nation to reach on to the South Polar region, but the fourth nation to reach on the moon. Remember this one. So Chandrayaan 3, it was launched July 14, 2023. It carried lander and a rover, same Vikram lander and a Pragyan rover, to demonstrate safe and soft landing on the moon, that is particularly onto South Polar region. So India want to look this South Polar region because there are a lot of dark regions exist in here. So in this dark region there are rich ice deposits and rich mineral deposits. To explore all these things, India wanted to reach on to the South Polar region. With that, India became the first nation to reach South Polar region and the fourth nation to soft land on the moon. Okay, after Russia, China and US. After Russia, China and US. Okay, right. Here then Mars orbiter mission. And next, Mars orbiter mission. Mars orbiter mission. MOM, or it is called Mangalyaan. Mangalyaan. That is Mars orbiter mission or Mangalyaan. It is India's first interplanetary mission. India's first interplanetary mission to Mars. India's first interplanetary mission to Mars. It was launched on 5th November 2013. It was launched on 5th November 2013 with the help of PSLV C-25 rocket. PSLV C-25. PSLV C-25. So with that, India became the fourth nation to reach on Mars. So thereby, India became fourth nation to reach on Mars after Russia, USA and ESA, European Space Agency. So India became the fourth nation after Russia, USA, that is NASA, and ESA, European Space Agency. So what is the main objective of this Mangalyaan? To observe the morphological features. So to explore the morphology, that is external features, mineralogy, to explore morphology, mineralogy, and is there any possibility of existence of life that can be explored. Morphology, mineralogy, Mars atmospheric features, Mars surface features, and Martian atmosphere. To explore morphology. Morphology means external features. Mineralogy, there is any possibility of existence of minerals, and if there is any possibility of existence of life, and also Mars surface features can be studied, that is morphology. And the Martian atmosphere, so Martian atmosphere can be explored. Martian atmosphere, that means Mars atmosphere can be studied by using some scientific instruments. Just to remember that one. Next, astrosat. First multi-wavelength space observatory. Next, astrosat. First multi-wavelength space observatory. First multi-wavelength space observatory. It observes the space. Observe space in optical, UV, X-rays and gamma ray spectrum. This is the specialty of this astrosat. It is the first multi-wavelength. So optical, UV, X-rays and X-ray, gamma ray spectrum. It utilizes multi-wavelengths like optical wavelength, ultraviolet radiations, X-ray radiations and gamma ray radiations to observe the various processes occurring in the universe, like binary star formation, neutron stars, formation of black holes. All these activities can be observed with the help of a astrosat. It was launched by using PSLV C-30 in the year 2015 from Satish Dhawan Space Center. So, astrosat, it is an astronomical satellite. It is to understand the high energy processes in the universe. To understand high energy processes in the universe, like star births, binary star system, binary stars, neutron stars, and existence of super clusters of galaxies, existence of super clusters of galaxies. So these super clusters of galaxies was deemed as Saraswati. So what is super clusters of galaxy? What is meant by galaxy? Galaxy means a group of stars. So galaxy means a group of stars. Suppose say this is one group of star. This is one galaxy. This is another galaxy. Okay, this is another galaxy. So that means this is one galaxy. So all these galaxies are interlinked like this. Okay, this it forms a cluster. Is it clear? It is one cluster. Similarly, these many clusters, there are so many clusters are there, and these clusters are interlinked together. That super cluster of galaxies was named as Saraswati. That means AstroSat confirmed the presence of super clusters of galaxies. So many findings were done by using this AstroSat. So simply you remember AstroSat, it is an astronomical satellite. It is a first multi-wavelength space observatory which utilizes various spectrums like optical, UV, ultraviolet radiation, X-ray spectrum, gamma rays. So these many radiations are utilized. So it is to observe the universe. So that means to understand the high energy processes occurs in the universe, like existence of binary star system, neutron stars, star birth regions, and also existence of super clusters of galaxies. All these can be observed with the help of this AstroSat. It was launched in the year 2015 with the rocket called PSLV C30 from SDSC, Satish Dhawan Space Center. Okay, right. And next one is Exposat. Next, Exposat. It is X-ray polarimeter satellite. X-ray polarimeter satellite. X-ray polarimeter satellite. It was launched on January 1st, 2024 by using PSLV C58. It was launched on January 1st, 2024 by using PSLV C58. It was the first scientific satellite. To carry out research in space-based polarization. From X-ray emissions. Space-based polarization, measurements of X-ray, space-based polarization, measurements of X-ray emissions from celestial bodies. Or you can say celestial objects. So it was the first dedicated X-ray polarization satellite to carry out research in space-based polarization measurements of X-ray emissions from celestial bodies. That means, suppose say this is a celestial body, it emits X-rays. So that means what type of celestial bodies are existing in the universe that can be observed by using these polarization measurements. So these polarization measurements. So this is the first satellite to observe the polarization measurements, and this is the second dedicated satellite in the world. In India, it was the first. So this is the world's second polarimetry mission. Second polarimetry mission after NASA's IXPE. After NASA's IXPE mission. IXPE means Imaging X-ray Polarimetry Explorer. Imaging X-ray Polarimetry. Imaging X-ray Polarimetry Explorer. It was launched in the year 2021 by NASA. It was launched by NASA in the year 2021. So actually this XPOSAT mission, just to remember, it is to observe the polarization measurements of X-ray emissions from celestial bodies. It was the world's second mission. It was the world's second mission. World's second mission after NASA's IXPE. Imaging X-ray Polarimeter Explorer. Imaging X-ray Polarimeter Explorer. It was launched in the year 2021. It was launched in the year 2021. So actually this XPOSAT mission, it is a collaboration between XPOSAT mission is a collaboration between ISRO and RRI and UR Rao Satellite Center. RRI UR Rao Satellite Center. So RRI means Raman Research Institute. Okay, so there is a Bengaluru, Raman Research Institute, and UR Rao Satellite Center. UR Rao Satellite Center. Right. So next one is Aditya L1 mission. Next, Aditya L1. So India's first mission to study solar corona in visible, invisible and IR spectrum. Invisible and IR bands, or you can say spectrum. To study the solar corona, that means this is sun. The sun's atmosphere, you can say, solar corona. This is the first mission to study solar corona in visible and IR bands. So it was launched on September 2nd, 2023 by using PSLV C57. PSLV C57 XL variant, you can say. It was launched on September 2nd, 2023 by PSLV C57 from Satish Dhawan Space Centers. And Aditya L1 entered. So Aditya L1 entered its orbit or entered Sun's orbit. Sun's orbit on January 6th, 2024. January 6th, 2024. So basically, Aditya L1, it is to study the solar corona, that means sun's atmosphere in visible spectrum and infrared spectrums. Okay. So we use this transponders by using visible and infrared bands. Here this Aditya L1 mission was launched by using a rocket called PSLV C57 XL variant. XL variant, how many strap-on motors? 6 strap-on motors are there. Okay. So it was launched on September 2nd, 2023 and it reached to Sun's orbit on January 6, 2024. Then what is the main objective of this Aditya L1 mission? To understand the physical processes occurring in Sun's corona. To understand the physical processes occurring in Sun's atmosphere. Okay. Like the physical processes like, which heats the corona. Okay, heats the corona. That is solar winds or coronal mass ejections. Coronal mass ejections. So to understand the physical process like which heats the solar corona, and solar winds. So what are which heats the solar corona? The temperature may extremely rises. And solar winds. What are solar winds? Solar winds are high speed, some millions of tons of high speed winds carries. These are called as the solar winds. These solar winds have high gravitational pull. So they can engulf the entire solar system, including the earth. But Earth's gravitational field will shields the earth from solar winds. Okay. And here these solar winds composed of electrons plus the solar winds are composed of electrons and nuclei of hydrogen and helium atoms. Nuclei of hydrogen and helium. You remember the composition of the solar winds. Solar winds are basically composed of electrons and nuclei of hydrogen and helium atoms. Solar winds are composed of electrons and nuclei of hydrogen and helium atoms. And here you remember right here Aditya L1. Here L1, what it means? L1 means it is called Lagrange point 1. Lagrange point 1. So there are 5 Lagrange points. Say this is sun. Say this is a sun, and Say this is sun. So this is a sun. Okay. And say this is a earth. Earth. In between the sun and earth, there is a point here. This point you call as L1 point. This point is called L1 point, Lagrange point 1. And the distance of this L1 point from earth is about 1.5 million kilometers. You remember this distance? So L1 point, it is a straight line that joins the earth from sunset. It is called as L1 point, Lagrange point 1. The distance of this L1 point is about 1.5 million kilometers from earth. So why we launched this Aditya L1 at L1 point only? Because the movement of this L1 point happens along with the movement of the earth. The movement of this L1 point happens along with the movement of the earth. And that is the two, it is the near point, it is the closest point to the sun. When you launch this Aditya L1 mission at L1 point, it becomes easy to, and becomes a great point to observe the sun from very close distance. Okay. So that is called as L1. Just you remember, Aditya L1 mission was launched to study the solar corona in visible and infrared bands. It was launched on September 2nd, 2023 by using PSLV C-57 rocket. It reached to sun's orbit on January 6, 2024. Okay. So it is to understand the physical processes which heats the solar corona and also how solar winds are generated, and then coronal mass ejections, that is solar winds will carries various types of tons of millions of tons of solar wind. These are called as coronal mass ejections. They engulf various types of celestial bodies including the earth. Okay, but the earth is having magnetic field. That magnetic field shields the earth, will protect the earth from these coronal mass ejections or from solar winds. Okay, so these processes can be studied by using this Aditya L1 mission. So it is the first step to study the solar corona. Okay, all right. And the next one is Gaganyaan mission. So Gaganyaan mission, Gaganyaan. It is a crewed orbital spacecraft. Crewed means carried the astronauts. It will carry the crewed orbital spacecraft. It carries astronauts. It became foundation for IHSP program, Indian Human Space Flight Program. It becomes the foundation for Indian Human Space Flight Program. So Gaganyaan mission, it is the first crewed orbital spacecraft. Okay, so it serves as foundation for IHSP program. GSLV MK3, or it is also called as LVM3, Launch Vehicle Motor 3. Rocket is used to launch this Gaganyaan. Here 3 flights will be conducted. In that 2 unmanned flight, 1 manned flight. So 3 flights will be conducted. In that 2 unmanned flights and 1 manned flights. Okay, so in that AI powered humanoid robot called Vyomitra. Vyomitra, AI powered humanoid female robot. AI powered humanoid female robot. It's called Vyomitra. It was developed by ISRO. Vyomitra. It was developed by ISRO, which will be sent as a part of Gaganyaan unmanned mission. It acts as a astronaut assistant. Astronaut assistant. It conducts various experiments. Okay, it acts like an astronaut. Okay, astronaut assistant. Next. So the next one is Project Netra. Project Netra. So here Netra means it is an early warning system. Network for space objects tracking and analysis. Network for space objects tracking and analysis. Space objects tracking and analysis. Okay. So what is Project Netra? So it is a network for space objects tracking and analysis. It is an early warning system. It is an early warning system which carries radar. Radar means radio detection range. That means it carries electronic spectrum and optical telescope. So Netra means it is network for space object tracking and analysis. It is an early warning system which carries a radar system. Radar system means electromagnetic spectrum which functions based on the remote sensing phenomena, and it carries optical instrument to track the space objects, to track the space debris. And it has a range of 1500 kilometers. So within this 1500 kilometers range, it can track, it can collect, it can identify the space debris. So what are space debris? Space debris means parts of the used space debris, that is they are called as orbital debris, spent rocket parts, spent rockets, and missile related debris. So actually these are the artificial debris. The space debris may be of two types, natural debris and artificial debris. So natural debris means So various debris formed from the celestial bodies like meteorites, whereas artificial debris includes the space debris, that is orbital debris, spent rockets, rocket stages, spent rocket stages, missile related debris. So all these are the space debris. Next, you remember Kessler's syndrome. Kessler's syndrome. You remember this one? Kessler's syndrome. So actually, what is Kessler's syndrome means? Actually, these space debris are there. So these space debris are hazardous to the functioning satellites, so functioning spacecrafts. The space debris become hazardous. These are the potential hazardous to this function, to the functionality of the satellites or the spacecrafts. So sometimes they collide with each other. They creates more and more debris, and these satellites and spacecraft become dysfunctional. And this phenomenon called as Kessler's syndrome. It was named after NASA scientist called Donald Kepler. Okay, Donald Kessler in 1978. You remember that one. Kessler's syndrome important. Kessler's syndrome, space debris is a potential hazard for space debris. Space debris is a potential hazard for operational satellites. Potential hazard for operational satellites, and colliding with them can leave the satellites dysfunctional. Space debris is a potential hazard for operational satellites, and colliding with them can leave the satellites dysfunctional. Colliding with them can leave the satellites dysfunctional. This is referred to as Kessler syndrome. So this is referred to as Kessler syndrome, which is named after NASA scientist Donald Kessler. Which is named after NASA scientist Donald Kessler in the year 1978. Named after NASA scientist Donald Kessler. 1978. 78. Next. Dark sky reserve. Next. Right. So dark sky reserve. Recently, the DST, Department of Science and Technology, has announced India's first dark sky reserve. Launched at Hanle, Ladakh. So recently, DST means Department of Science and Technology has announced the setting up of India's first dark sky reserve. So dark sky reserve at a place called Hanle, Ladakh. So at this dark sky reserve, India trying to promote astro-tourism. Astrotourism. And why? This is a natural choice. So because there is a minimal interference. Actually, what is dark sky reserve? It is a tract of land with minimal interference of artificial light. With minimal interference of artificial light. With the minimal interference of artificial light. That is dark sky reserve. So actually this Hanle, Ladakh, it is a natural choice because it is a cold desert. It is a cold desert. Temperature is less. Rainfall. So temperature is low and very little rainfall. Very little rainfall. So rainfall is low. So dark sky reserve means it is a tract of land with minimal interference of artificial light. There the villagers also prefers the solar panels. So the villagers, the people living there, they also prefers the solar panels. They use a sunlight. Okay. So they won't prefer this artificial light or electricity. And that's why it is a natural choice. Just you remember, dark sky reserve is first launched at Hanle, Ladakh. So where India is trying to promote astrotourism. Where India is trying to promote astrotourism. Okay. So this dark sky, this Hanle is a natural choice for astrotourism because it is a cold desert, the temperature is low and the rainfall is low. Rainfall is low. Okay. Right. Here at this dark sky reserve, a telescope was set up. That is Indian Institute of Astrophysics, IIA. IIA means Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru. Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru maintains the telescopes for this astrophysics. IIA, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, IIA, Bangalore maintains the telescope for this dark sky reserve. For maintains this dark sky reserve. Next. Over? Right. Next. Other one is IRIS telescope. IRIS telescope. So IRIS telescope. So it was launched at Nainital, Uttarakhand. So this IRIS stands for Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Sciences. So IRIS stands for Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Sciences. IRIS. It was kept at, or it was launched at Nainital, Uttarakhand. It was the Asia's largest telescope. So with a diameter of nearly 3.6 meters, So before this Aries telescope, the largest was MAST. Just you remember Aries telescope, which is located at Nainital. It is Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Science. It is an 15 minutes. Okay. It is an initiative of India and Belgium. You remember this one. It is an initiative of India and Belgium. You remember this one. Right? So this completes the space technology part.